to cover it now. So this is what the dilemma is, okay? If I say that P means I am sleeping, okay? And Q means I am dreaming, okay? And R means I am running, okay? And S means I am happy, okay? Then if I say, if P then Q, and if R then S, do y'all all see that what I have said is that if I'm sleeping, then I'm dreaming, and if I'm running, then I am happy? Does everybody agree with that? Okay, great. Then I'm going to add to that P or R. So either I am sleeping or I am running. Therefore, either Q or S. So if both of these conditionals are true, and then this disjunct is true, then I can conclude that this disjunct is true. It makes sense, right? If I am sleeping, then I am dreaming, and if I am running, then I am happy. I'm either sleeping or dreaming. Either sleeping or running. Therefore, I'm either dreaming or happy. Okay? So that is called the constructive dilemma. And we talked a little bit about the destructive dilemma, which just is the same first premise, and instead of affirming the two consequents, the two antecedents, you will deny. You'll say, either I am not dreaming or I am not happy. Therefore, I am not sleeping or I am not running. Okay? And that is, so this same thing comes down. Okay? That is the destructive dilemma, okay? Which makes sense because in this one there are only positive things, you're constructing things, you're building, and the second one is destructive, all those negations. We also talked about the fact that the constructive dilemma is just an extended or bigger modus ponens, and the destructive dilemma is just an extended or bigger modus tollens, okay? Which just said if P then Q, P, therefore Q. That was a modus ponens. And then modus tollens said if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. So if I am sleeping, then I am dreaming. I'm not dreaming, therefore I must not be sleeping, okay? So that's kind of the background on the dilemma. And then we learned the 3 ways that you might refute a dilemma, okay? So life is full of dilemmas. People are going to say to you, look, you have this dilemma, okay? You have these 2 options, and they're going to lead to these 2 consequences. One option is going to lead to this consequence. The other option is going to lead to this consequence. Which consequence are you going to choose? Because which option are you going to choose, okay? So that happens actually a lot in life. It happens to me in my job a lot, okay? If you grade these papers, then you'll be up too late. And if you go to sleep right now, then your students will be frustrated because you still haven't graded their tests. Either you're going to grade these papers, or you're going to go to sleep right now. So either you're going to be up too late, or your students are going to be frustrated because you haven't graded their tests. So you see how the dilemma is, and we talked a little bit about a dilemma that y'all might face often, which would be similarly, if you study for this test, then you'll make an A. If you go out with your friends, then you'll be happy. So you're either going to make an A or be happy because you're either going to study for the test or go out with your friends. So let's use that one, okay, to practice our 3 methods, okay? So our dilemma that we just came up with is, if I study, then I make an A. And if I go out with my friends, then I am happy. I will either study or go out with my friends. Therefore, I will either make an A or be happy. Okay? So the question then is, what are the 3 ways to refute that? Okay? The first way is called, who remembers? The first way that they gave us is called going between the horns. So what are the horns of the dilemma? The horns of the dilemma are the disjunct premise, okay? And they said you're either going to study or go out with your friends. So how can we go between the horns? Okay, you're going to offer a third option, okay? One of my favorite pastors' names is Derek Thomas, and he is this very, very funny Welshman. And he one time got all worked up in a sermon, and he said, Is it that Jesus is only God, or Jesus is only man, or perhaps is it a tertium quid? He was so nerdy that he slipped into Latin, okay? So what we're looking for here is a tertium quid, a third thing, okay? What is the thing other than study all night or go out with your friends? So think about going between the horns as a compromise. Okay? So what would our compromise be? In substance, it might be, I'm going to study for a little while and then meet up later. Okay, my friends are going to a movie and then they're going to Menchie's. I'm going to skip the movie and study, and then I'm going to go to Menchie's. Okay? So that I can still get my A and still be happy. So I've offered a third option. It's often a compromise. And the way you would symbolize that is that you would negate the disjunct. You would say, no, it's not true that, and you have to have parentheses around it, it's not true that I can only study or go out with study or go out with my friends. Okay, there's a third option. Okay, so that's one option. That's called going between the horns. You're finding a compromise. You're finding a tertium quid, a third thing. You're negating the disjunct. Negating the disjunct, okay? The second option would be to grasp it by the horns, okay? This way you have said, okay, fine, you're right. I'm either going to study or go out with my friends. So you have affirmed this, okay? But then you have negated at least one of your conditionals, okay? So this is grasping it by the horns, okay? And you are you're actually affirming the two choices. Your two choices in the disjunct premise. Okay, and you are negating at least one conditional. Okay, in the first premise. So, what were my conditionals? If I study, I'll make an A, and if I go out with my friends, I'll be happy. At that point, you say, my friends are driving me nuts anyway. I'm actually not going to be happy if I go out with my friends. So, it's not true that if either way I go, I'm either going to make an A or be happy. Or you might say, actually, I could make an A even if I don't study, because I studied a lot last week. So I'm going out with my friends, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to make an A. Okay? So you're at that point, you're negating one of the conditionals. Okay? The last one is the one I think y'all probably find the hardest. Okay? And this is called rebut the horns. Okay? Rebut the horns. And this is sort of looking at the same dilemma. With optimism. Okay? And the way you would do this was you would say, you're right, if I study, I'm gonna get an A, and if I go out with my friends, I'm gonna be happy, so at least I'm gonna be happy or get an A. Okay? It's almost like you're just admitting it, okay? But you're just saying that's okay. We don't have to we don't have to be so sad about it, okay? And the way they symbolize that is that you flip your, okay? So you flip your thing around and you say, if I study, I won't be happy, okay? And if I go out with my friends, I won't get an A, okay? So if I study or go out with my friends, then I won't be happy or I won't get an A. Now, my example ended up not being great for rebutting the horns, my example that I came up with up here, because why do you want to, you don't want to say, well, at least I'll not be happy or not get an A, but that's normally what you would do if they had given you a dilemma with like things that weren't good, right? So if it had said, if you study, then you'll fail. If you don't study, then you'll fail. And if you don't go out with your friends, then you'll be miserable. Then you would have flipped it around and said, if I don't go out with my friends, then I won't fail. And if I don't study, then at least I won't be miserable. Okay, so you flip it around and negate the other option. In our thing, it doesn't really, I don't want to not be happy or not make an A, so that doesn't really hold water. Either way, the point is you're just turning it around and looking at it in the same way. You're not negating the truth of either of the premises. So basically, number one, go between, is you negate the disjunctive premise. Number two, grasp the horns, you negate one of the conditional premises, okay? Number three, rebut the horns, you admit both premises, okay? But you don't have to, you turn around the way you're looking at it. And sometimes what you do by that is you flip the consequence and negate them. That's how you would symbolize it. Okay, so that is a rundown on the dilemma. Looking at your homework today, okay, you have the answers in front of you. I just want you to feel good about the fact that on your quiz tomorrow, you are not going to have to do that thing at the top, okay? I am not worried about you being able to symbolize a dilemma, and certainly not symbolize your refuting of the dilemma. Okay? What you are going to have to do is more like these down here, okay? And say what you've done, okay? And so if you had a lot of trouble up here, don't worry about it. We'll review it again, but we're not trying to master it anyway, okay? If you had a lot of trouble down here, okay, then we're going to review it, but go back and watch this video and see if you can work them now and see if you can understand how you can grasp the horns, go between the horns, or even rebut the horns. But grasping and going between is a whole lot easier, I think, than rebutting, and you are not going to be required to, on your quiz, rebut the dilemma. And actually, even on your test, rebutting a dilemma will only show up as either an option, so you can always pick something else, or perhaps a bonus. So if you have mastered grasping and going between, and if you have mastered the substance part but not the symbolism part, then you are in great shape, okay? And if after you've watched this you still